First up, the Puff Daddy victims who were forced to bottom at parties unite at a Kamala Harris rally. Next, why Trump and Kamala are vying to be the McDonald's candidate, with both presidential elects willing to pretend that they've done menial tasks and support a food organization poisoning the population. Next, Harris says she has a plan for if Trump declares victory prematurely, citing her expertise on things happening prematurely from having sex with Doug. And lastly, why doctors are recommending we ignore the latest scientific studies when treating trans youth, citing that pumping chemicals into kids just makes more sense than not doing it.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Run Your Mouth podcast. You know, I was sitting here quietly waiting for that sweet banjo music to come on from Fast Heart Mart, but then I remembered, not in studio today, out on the road, was trying to get an episode in on Wednesday, but things have been go mode, people. That filming was wild, and I believe the release date is going to be not this Sunday, but next week Sunday at 8 p.m. It is nearly entirely edited in the books. And I think I'm just going to wait till after the show so that, you know, everyone doesn't just stay home and watch the special instead. And then, you know, I don't get to perform to anybody. And I don't think I'm going to be podcasting next week. I think next week, Saturday from the shell, and this isn't an official announcement. I have ADD. I might change my mind in exactly 3 or 4 minutes, but I'm going to be up at the shell with BK Chris next weekend. And I think one of the two nights it would make sense to do a last Run Your Mouth live before the election. So haven't determined what night. Don't even know if we're going to do it. It'll be a free bonus for whoever wants to hang out for it. And do you just say who's debating? I didn't mean to debate. I meant the actual election's going to be happen. All right. Anyways, listen, I've got man, that was a long pause. I thought a good word was going to come to me, and it just didn't. You know, it's been a long week of travels and editings and the whatnots. I'm still not drinking coffee because I got my teeth whitened. I don't even know if they're any better. I don't think I can last without coffee. You know, I had a migraine. Listen, let's get into the news. We've got a whole week of news to get into, so let's catch up on everything that's going on as we come down to the wire. As the 2024 presidential election is almost here, we do have two candidates, both of whom want to claim the mantle as being the McDonald's candidate for our country. Isn't it incredible that we have a food store that is not a particularly good job? Working there would not qualify you for being president. Who gives a shit if you had a shitty past and you had to work at McDonald's? Don't we want people who have been winners? Wouldn't you like to meet the guy, like a king's son, who just had, you know, you always know who the shitty king's son is. If a king's got two sons and one's a piece of shit, you know who the piece of shit is. But then sometimes you get the one that's got the really good genes. And I'm just talking for movies. I haven't been around from kings, the times of kings. I haven't read history books about the times of kings. I'm really just, basically, I think of Thor. I'm working off of Thor right now. But that's as good of a reference for anything when it comes to political analysis. Shitty Marvel movies that you watched on a plane, didn't like, but kind of liked enough, but still want to be so cool that you pretend that you didn't like them. Anyways, sometimes you have people that are just winners, people that are smarter than us, people that are better looking than us. Like, look at LeBron James. That guy's perfect at basketball. Don't you sometimes just want someone who's always been good at something? Like, for example, let's just say I think Warren Buffett's kid's a bit of a goofy idiot, fat kid, just likes working on a farm. But let's say Warren Buffett's son, from the age of 12, started having the most brilliant stock picks. And then he worked for Warren Buffett from the age of 12 to 24. And then he went on and he started a company and he became the most successful company in the entire country. And then he sold that company and he started a new company. And then that did even better than the previous company. Would anyone turn around and go, hey, I don't think I'd like this guy to be my CEO because he never worked at McDonald's? Does working at McDonald's, what has happened? Well, I'll tell you guys what's happened. That's what you're here for. I don't just have to frame questions all the time. I can tell you what's going on. It's because we're not having real conversations about policy. We're not actually putting forward intelligent individuals. Instead, what we're doing is theater. And so if everything's going to be WWF theater, then I guess it's who can create better stunts and pretend like, oh, I have a better understanding of the shit that you've been through because I've been through, like, all right, listen, would it appeal to the country if I said 3 months ago, I was a drug addict sleeping on a couch just like you. And so if you make me president, I will have a better understanding of your needs. That's not the guy I want to be president. Find me the smartest guy who's had the most successful run at running multiple companies and businesses. That's a pitch. But hey, I was just before I was a piece of shit, just like, well, can we get a person that wasn't a piece of shit that might be able to help me out? So anyways, you've got both Kamala Harris claiming that she worked at McDonald's. I've also seen that there's no records of this, of her McDonald's employment, but she's also claimed to be black. She's got a running mate who claims to have fought in wars that he hasn't fought in. So it doesn't really, Joe Biden pretended that he both rubbed and didn't rub kids' legs while working at a pool that may or may not have black kids in it. It doesn't matter. Everything's fiction at this point, so nothing matters what you want to claim that you did or you didn't do. But here's what I'm getting at. If we're already going to make false claims about what you've done or hadn't done, what happened to us that your grand claim of what makes you relatable and that you should be put into the position is that you work the fry machine? Like, if you're already going to lie about things that you've done in your past, why don't you say, like Al Gore, hey, I was the one who created the internet, or I'm the person, I've the charity work that I've done, or the wars that I fought in. But no, this is where we're at in 2024, that if you're looking for stolen valor that's going to endear you to the general population, it's, hey, I've worked at the cancer food store. You know how everyone's complaining that we're all getting fat, everyone needs prescriptions for Ozempic, we're all unhealthy and tired all the time? But, well, don't worry, because like you, I love McDonald's, the chief cancer organization giving our country diarrhea for the last 40 years. Well, I am here to show you that I'm a man of the people. All right, and so more on this, because this is where we're at. We're coming to the end of the election cycle, and instead of talking about possibly the debt, who's going to actually get us out of the wars, holding these people accountable for the walls, the debate is about who really has the McDonald's honor. Who is the person who really worked at McDonald's? Who's the person who really got into the grind and the nitty and the gritty as if this matters or it's important? And here's even Obama saying shame on Trump for trying to claim the the working at McDonald's card. That is for Kamala Harris alone. Let's give it a listen.
This is a leader who has spent her life fighting on behalf of people who need a voice and need a champion. Somebody who was raised in a middle-class family, who actually worked at McDonald's when she was in college to pay her expenses. Didn't just pretend like he worked at McDonald's when it was closed. Someone who believes in the values that built this country and who is as prepared for the job as any nominee for president has ever been. So, the point is, Kamala knows you. She knows your life. She knows what it's like to scrap and to strive and to work hard and to see her mom worry about the bills. So does Tim. So if you elect them, they will be focused on your problem.
I love this. They understand your problem. Like, if you went to a doctor and he never had the cancer that you had, would you not be interested in his expertise? Would you not employ Albert Einstein to work on physics if he wasn't the same race as you? This guy doesn't understand me. Or do you want an expert who might actually be good at the thing, and whether or not they've gone through what you've gone through or haven't probably doesn't have any relevance to the actual job. All right, next up. And by the way, episode is brought to you by YoKratom.com, home of the $6 kilo, and the entire place on the entire internet that you can get an entire kilo of Kratom for just $60. Loyal supporters of the Run Your Mouth podcast. And if you're out there and you're not sure what to buy, you got to go home for Thanksgiving. You're not sure what to bring mom. Instead of a casserole that no one's going to eat, some pecan pie that, maybe you buy it from a store. I'm a big fan of pecan pie. Well, I don't want to be shitting on pecan pie. If you bring pecan pie, everyone's going to like you. But you can also show up with a kilo of Kratom. Either one of those things will be a suitable gift for your mom for Thanksgiving. YoKratom.com, home of the $6 kilo. Now, this one just caught my eye in terms of the bizarro land that we live in that I remember when I went to little Jew camp as a young whippersnapper of the ages of 11, maybe he was 12 years old. At one point, a memo came out from the camp that you were not allowed to bring your Eminem CDs to camp. It had never happened before. The Jew camp never engaged in such censorship. We were listening to Metallica. We were listening to AC/DC. I even remember listening to NWA out of the camp bunk. But something happened that it got to the heads of the camp that this music was so inappropriate, you can't be bringing it to Jewish summer camp. And your parents started sifting through your CD albums. Maybe you had a cool one that let it slide by, and if not, they were taking it away from you. And do you guys remember 1990s, I guess, when Eminem hit the scene talking about his mom and killing people? I don't remember. I'm not a hip hop guy. But what changed in the last 20 years that this person who is the reprehensible, foul-mouthed rap star, the one who caught all of our interest by being a badass, can then be paraded onto the stage as the person who should be introducing Obama. Isn't there just something fascinating about that change? It's not like he quit doing rap music and then spent the last 10 years saving the whales and then became a philanthropist and then got involved in the fake global warming thing, flew around with Leonardo DiCaprio a whole bunch and wasn't at any Puff Daddy parties. You know, it's not like that's the storyline. Gave up the limelight and has been doing, just visiting hospitals from town to town. Isn't that just an odd, I mean, I guess it's 20 whole years, but I'm just saying there's something odd about that 180. And now they are going full scale, heavy metal, screaming Donald Trump loves the Nazis, loved Hitler. Donald Trump is a full scale fascist. And just in terms of the phony baloney stories, the malarkey of epic proportions that you can expect to be thrown at you in the last couple, because remember, Kamala Harris doesn't have an answer to a single question. She doesn't know any policy. She only knows one thing, which is orange man bad. And if your entire pitch is just orange man bad, you're going to have to come out with every little example that you can possibly find. And you think they've had 8 years since the last election. Roll out the P-tape. Show me Donald Trump grabbing a lady by the pussy. He wasn't even kidding the whole time. It's like they're coming at you with the one thing, and I guess the only thing that they have, which is, hey, he's not that nice of a guy. And guess what? Even the nicest and most wholesome of church moms right now are going, I really don't like that Donald Trump guy, but Kamala's just too stupid. And that's what they're contending with, is the church moms who would have been the core demographic of, Donald Trump's unfit for office. He brings down the dignity of our country. We need to have nice people up there. And even they are looking at Kamala Harris and going, I just think she's too stupid. And so that's what Kamala Harris is dealing with right now. And instead of trying to prove that she's not that stupid, because she's not capable of that, she can actually come up with a couple policies, admit some fault, and go, here's my commitment, and here's what we're actually going to do. And yeah, Biden had dementia. I was stuck in the job for that. He decided to not build a wall. I think that was a mistake. They just but I'm a prosecutor, and as a prosecutor, I know how to do so listen, everybody sees through it, but instead of shifting, because they only got 10 days left, they're doubling, tripling, quadrupling down on the one card that they have, which is Donald Trump is evil and bad, and how can you vote for him? And so just to showcase the nonsense storylines that we can predict to get thrown at us, there was a funny article that came out, I believe it was in The Atlantic, that Donald Trump had offered to pay for the bill for, listen, I don't know all the details. There was I guess, Mexican lady who was serving in the U.S. Army. I don't know how or where or why she died. And I guess the Army didn't initially cover the expenses. And Donald Trump said, I will cover the expenses. The bill came in for either the number was $60,000 or $80,000. And Donald Trump said, what the fuck? It doesn't cost $80,000 to bury a Mexican. And so this hit the newspapers as, hey, because remember, they only got one thing they can tell us, which is Donald Trump's evil. He's a meanie pants and he's undignified. And within a day of this coming out, the family member said, hey, the story's not true, and he was very respectful. And then Mark Meadows, who they were quoting as, I believe, they were quoting that he had shared this. He said on Twitter, I was in the discussions featured in The Atlantic's latest hit piece against President Trump. Let me say this. Any suggestion that President Trump disparaged Miss Gullion or refused to pay for a funeral expenses is absolutely false. He was nothing but kind, gracious, and wanted to make sure that the military and the U.S. government did right by Vanessa Gullion and her family. But this is what we're going to have. We're coming down to the end. They've only got one play, which is Donald Trump is evil. Remember, he was there and he left, but he will be an absolute dictator. And we can't let the guy who's also too old to be there and is going to die stay there because he'll stay forever. What, does he have magical Nancy Pelosi powers? that firstly, he did leave the last time. Sure, maybe he tried to pull some sneaky, stupid shit that you guys had to change the laws afterwards, because I actually don't think it was illegal, and I only say that based on the fact that they had to change the laws. But sure, he tried pulling some, some Wile E. Coyote tricks that didn't work out to stay in office, but at the end of the day, he left. He did serve for 4 years. He didn't do any crazy dictator shit. Didn't happen. And now you're saying he's also too old to run, which is rich. We're going to play some of those clips later after, throwing Joe Biden up there while he probably had dementia before the job, Okay, anyways. Sorry, something popped up on my screen, and it's a little more difficult here, not from the home studio. I have no idea what I was talking about. Oh, yeah. So they are ramping up to a level 15 of pretending. Remember, this guy's unfit to serve. So the latest thing that they're throwing at us is Mark Kelly, I think he was the chief of staff, really into, keeping us in all these wars, which is what this is all about. It's the deep state just trying to make sure that they can that we can keep the Ukraine and keep all these wars cooking along, and they're concerned that Donald Trump won't play ball this time around. And so the deep state cokes that he accidentally hired in his last organization are now all coming out in support of Kamala Harris. And even if they're not endorsing Kamala Harris, they're going, this guy's so bad, we can't possibly have him in there. He'll be a dictator. And so here you have it from Kelly, I think's the guy's name. Trump alleged pro-Hitler comments takes the spotlight as election day nears. And before we get upset about this, can I hear what Trump liked about Hitler? I mean, maybe you liked Hitler's choice in pastries. Maybe they were sitting in a meeting and Trump went, Hitler, he used to eat the best pudding, the pudding that they had in Germany. Or he was complimenting the fact that Eva Braun was younger and better looking than him. Or maybe he liked the way that he did his hair. Maybe he was complimenting the paintings that Hitler did. I mean, why are we going to get all mad about Donald Trump complimenting Hitler if we don't even know what he was complimenting? I can't imagine he was complimenting Hitler's. Even if you were to sit around and go, Hitler did a better job of wrangling everyone together and being able to run a dictatorship. That's true. He did that. He did that pretty well. I guess you could even, in terms of people that were able to round him to maybe that would be a bad one to compliment. But I'm just saying, we don't know if the incident happened, and secondly, we don't even know what exactly Donald Trump was complimenting. And then here's the next, this is from the New York Times. As election nears, Kelly warns Trump would rule like a dictator. Oh my God, guys, it's another person who's really into war, who works for the deep state, who's going to tell us you can't trust Donald Trump and he's unfit to serve. Guys, I don't even know if we should be having an election. I mean, this is breaking bombshell stories as we come to the wire that somebody who likes wars, who worked with Donald Trump, will tell you, oh my God, if you put him in again, he might not listen to us and fight all these wars. All right, and then you had this came up in the it came up in the town hall. It came up from from that Kelly fellow. It came up. I saw Hillary Clinton in an interview, and everyone's taking this really seriously. I mean, really. This might be talk about some. She doesn't sell it that well, but we get you Kamala Harris, and you get the call, and we go, we need you to go out there, and we need to pretend like this is actually serious. We're coming down to the wire. We only got one card to win this election, and it's that Donald Trump's mean and evil. And now we got a comment from, oh, you're not going to believe it, a long-term employee of the government who's willing to tell you that Donald Trump's unfit to serve. Can you get out there and sell it? And she goes, I think I can do it. And so here's Kamala Harris selling this post-incident.
So yesterday we learned that Donald Trump's former chief of staff, John Kelly, a retired four-star general, confirmed that while Donald Trump was president, he said he wanted generals like Adolf Hitler had. Donald Trump said that because he does not want a military that is loyal to the United States Constitution. He wants a military that is loyal to him. He wants a military who will be loyal to him personally. And it is clear from John Kelly's words that Donald Trump is someone who, I quote, certainly falls into the general definition of fascist, who in fact vowed to be a dictator on day one and vowed to use the military as his personal militia to carry out his personal and political vendettas. Donald Trump is increasingly unhinged and unstable. And in a second...
There you go. Out there selling it, notching it up to a level 11, going out there and saying, hey, the guy who's running against me is a fascist. We still need to have an honest election because, the general population should be allowed to vote for a fascist. I'm not educated enough to define fascist, dictator, this or the next, but this seems to really be ramping up the WWF-ness of the whole thing of saying bullshit that you absolutely don't believe and devise the normal convention of going, hey, the other guy, if he's elected, we will no longer have a country. He will be a dictator from day one, and he's also too old for the job. So I guess you just have to be worried about a short-term dictatorship until he crumbles like Joe Biden. All right, next up is, because Kamala Harris, they were even up there at the town hall where she basically debated herself. Donald Trump wasn't able to show up, so she was able to debate her laugh instead. She was able to debate her other voices in her head where she laughs at how dumb she's being because she's at least that self-aware. She at least understands that. And so I'm sure everybody's seen it by now, but this was one of the better moments from the town hall when she got pressed on. So why didn't you make the changes that have secured our border earlier in your administration? And why won't you say that that was a mistake? And even here, this freeze frame is perfect because when the Q-tip guy cuts in, I can't remember his name, but when he cuts in with the question after she basically, word saladed her way out of whatever the audience member asked, and he asked a clarifying question. Look at that like, what the fuck are you doing to me? You want to keep your job after this? Look at how angry Kamala is. It's a perfect freeze frame right there because that's the best moment when you just see that look on her face like, shit, are you going to ask me a clarifying question? That's not the way that this is supposed to work. All right, here, let's give this a watch. It's Kamala Harris really floundering when being pressed on why is it that for 3 years you allowed this many people to cross our border. And why won't you just say it was a mistake when you were so easily able to solve it? And of course, you and I, we know the answer. They were trying to get as many people over that border as possible. They tried to legalize the illegal border crossings. And then when the Republicans didn't play ball, they finally, cracked down on it. They significantly lowered it coming into the election cycle. And then they decided to make this claim, well, it's because for political reasons, Donald Trump wouldn't let us solve it. No, you actually did solve it when they didn't let you guys just legalize the 5,000 people a day crossing. All right, let's give it a listen.
Let me ask you about that. I mean, you talk about the bill that Donald Trump quashed. That was in 2024. You talk about the bill he tried to get passed in 2021. That wasn't able to get passed. 2022, 2023, there were record border crossings. Your administration took hundreds of executive actions. It didn't stem the flow. Numbers kept going up. Finally, in 2024, just in June, 3 weeks before the first presidential debate with Joe Biden, you institute executive actions that had a dramatic impact, really shut down people crossing over. Why didn't your administration do that in 2022, 2023?
First of all, you're exactly right, Anderson. And as of today, we have cut the flow of immigration by over half. In fact, the numbers I saw most recently, illegal immigration
But if
is
it was
low.
that easy with that
finish.
executive action, why not do it in 2022, 2023?
Because we were working with Congress and hoping that actually we could have a long-term fix to the problem instead of a short-term fix.
You couldn't have done one and both at the same time?
Well, here's the thing. We have to understand that ultimately this problem is going to be fixed through congressional action. Congress has the authority and the purse. I'd hate to use D.C.
Excuse me, sir. You're not supposed to ask me clarifying questions. You're supposed to ask me a question once. I'm supposed to say something that doesn't make sense. And then we move on. That's the way that this is supposed to work. Are you guys trying to make sure that the evil dictator gets back into office? All right, I got a couple more moments that I would like to play for you guys. This was from the New York Times, and I enjoyed the quote. Harris was also asked about her changes in positions on fracking and other issues. She said the country deserved a president who is not afraid of good ideas and does not stand on pride, which is why she actually won't say that she got a single thing wrong. I mean, if you're okay with not standing on pride, then why not just say, yeah, we got the border thing wrong and we figured out how to solve it? Or, yeah, I probably shouldn't have covered for for Joe Biden having as much dementia as he did. I mean, they always, exactly what they tell you, let me be clear, will always be followed by the most confusing thing you've ever heard. Or we don't want to stand on pride is the opener for I will not admit that I'm wrong. All right, let's take a couple comments, and then I've got a couple topics left. But you know what? Before we do the comments, sheathunderwear.com. Guys, Sheath has been a loyal supporter of the Run Your Mouth podcast 3 years running. Dude, if you have not tried Sheath yet, make the upgrade. Use promo code RYM and get yourself 20% off the greatest underwear that's ever graced the balls of man. I'm telling you, if you got fat thighs that have been rubbing together, you will see me at a porch tour, you will see me at a gig, and you will give me the biggest hug of your entire life, unless you're sweaty or just threw up, in which case, please don't touch me. But if you're feeling the love of Sheath underwear, that your thighs are no longer chafing and scraping together, and you've got the fat discomfort of sweat between your legs, and the thighs just... There's a better way, and it's sheathunderwear.com. And you use promo code RYM, and you'll get yourself 20% off the greatest underwear that's ever graced the balls of man. All right, let's take some comments, and then we'll close out the show with a couple more topics. And then by next week, I'll be back on coffee and sharp as hell, walking around backwards and forwards. Better believe it. All right, Frank Stone. The Diddy thing stems from a 2022 arrest of 405 people in a child sex trafficking ring by the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. Rob's newsroom at gmail.com. Send it over my way. Sounds like you got an interesting scoop there, and I would be happy to read it. Sorry. Rob, you predicted them blaming Trump's assassination on Iran way back on the January 6th POTP stream. Like I said, you know, sometimes I pull pretty great information out of my asshole. Oh, nothing. My thighs don't make those sounds. Well, grow fatter thighs. Start eating now. Get off your Ozempics. Maybe start the day with 2 donuts. Move over to some steak, but like on a sandwich with some cheese. Throw some mayonnaise on there. I don't even like that. That's not even a good combo. But we're trying to get the calorie count up for you. In the afternoon, instead of having like a protein shake, don't work out and just drink a weight gainer. Then, as you start crashing from all of that, it becomes dinner time. You need to go fried food, like a double cheeseburger, a milkshake on top of it. You crash again before bed, and then you have a late night snack just to pick that sugar back up, and then you run that last bit of the day. You know, by the way, you make Hitler things to showcase the motions of what you're doing. But what you want to do is you have that late night snack like an Oreo, something else that sugar bombs you. Then you can't fall asleep, so you eat even more snacks. You stay up to like 2 and 3 in the morning. Then you wake up burnt out, and you start your day with donuts again. You do that for about 3 months and tell me your thighs ain't making some noises. All right? You know, don't be don't be calling fake news on chafing thighs just because you're a nice thin man. Runaway Slav. Corinne Fisher watched Kamala's town hall on YouTube in studio. Her face got a 1,000-yard stare when realizing how dumb Kamala is. Corinne got blackmailed in real time. Did she endorse Trump on the show? Had she never actually watched Kamala in action before? Did she address it? Did she say, my God, she is as dumb as everyone said? Alan Thickdick. The Eminem thing isn't a huge surprise. He's always hated Republicans. I'm not saying it's surprising that Eminem was there. I'm saying it's surprising for presidents to want him to be the individual to be introducing them. But I guess cultures change. I bet there was a time when people were like, the Rolling Stones is devil music. And then, you know, nowadays, Keith Richards, Mick Jagger, you would have them introduce you somewhere. Frank Stone, unlike the Epstein situation, Diddy had multiple copies of all videos. Could be. All right, let's take one more. Frank Stone, Bill Clinton's motorcade passed by a funeral home, and Bill said, hey, let's stop in there and do a couple of cold ones. Not bad. All right. What do we got? What do we got next? Producer man, come on. You're lagging here. All right, I don't know what this video is. We can discover it together. Let's find out.
A Trump advisor told producers that Trump was exhausted and refusing interviews.
He would be the oldest president ever inaugurated if he wins in November.
He will not agree to a second presidential debate.
The former president was swaying and asked to play songs for about 40 minutes.
Donald Trump's public appearances have deteriorated.
The stomach is speaking. Many Azerasians, just like putting a million Rambos. Good old Sylvester Stallone is my friend.
There is no way that this man who can't make it through an entire speech, who keeps canceling things, is going to be the person that does 4 more years.
That was presented to me on Twitter that it was a Kamala Harris ad. And don't they lose the right to claim that someone is too old? I mean, just the nerve. Sometimes just the nerve, the total son of a bitchery of, after protecting Joe Biden, running the guy when he was too old, pretending like he didn't have dementia through the entire run, and then you get rid of the old guy for a real dumbass who also isn't doing more events than Donald Trump, isn't more spry, isn't more on their game. You start running ads saying, hey, isn't this guy too old? Shouldn't we be concerned about age? I mean, is it right to have a president who might not be able to work an entire workday? Isn't there just like the nerve of you fuckers after the last 5 years of Joe Biden running? Well, I guess it's 4 years. It's the Joe Biden running and then the 3 years of him being in office. You guys are willing to play the card of, is it even right to possibly just realize these, like, the dirty tricks and the dramaticism of the Democratic Party? It's dangerous. It's dangerous. Everything's dangerous. And now, even after the Joe Biden run, they're willing to play the card of, can we have a president who's this old? Shouldn't we be concerned about the age of this individual? You would think, at least on that one, they would have the dignity to keep their mouths shut. All right, let's move on to some other topics. First is Musk's 1 million voter lottery pause after DOJ says it might violate federal law. I don't fully understand what Elon Musk was doing. I guess it was a prize contest where a random winner who signed a petition for free speech would get $1 million a day. I think it was something along those lines. And I think the problem, because you could be a Democrat or a Republican, but you did need to be a registered voter, which I guess maybe that was the issue. But let me read this to you. Musk's 1 million voter lottery paused after DOJ says it might violate federal law. The Department of Justice has warned Elon Musk's pro-Trump super PAC that its daily $1 million giveaway to registered voters in swing states might violate federal law, according to several news outlets. The DOJ's Public Integrity section sent a letter to America PAC noting that the sweepstake could violate a federal law against paying people to register to vote, the Wall Street Journal reported. Stop what you're doing. We don't like it, and it could be illegal. This is what I've talked about before of the under the Firm Authority Act. Shouldn't government have to tell you, hey, what you're doing is illegal? And then you could bring, and then I guess, I don't know, maybe the burden of proof should be on them that it is illegal or that you should go to court over it. But why do they get to just threaten you with, hey, we think what you're doing might not be proper? And so what, now it's on me to prove to, like, I have to stop what I'm doing and prove to you that what I'm doing is legal? Is that the way that freedom's supposed to work? And then what happens if they're wrong on this? Can you bring them to court and then say, hey, you stopped me from doing something that I wanted to do because you told me? Like, they should have to actually make a firm opinion. They shouldn't be allowed to just say, hey, we think what you're doing might be a problem, so you shouldn't do it because it might be wrong. Unless they liked what he was doing, in which case you wouldn't get that. But that's the thing. Hey, it might be a problem, so let's not do it. And then the latest in Israel was they got the Sinwar guy. And if there was one thing, talk about bad PR. If there was one thing I would think you wouldn't want to put out into the world, this is from the Wall Street Journal. To the surprise of many Palestinians and Israelis, Sinwar was found above ground rather than hiding in tunnels and surrounded by Israeli hostages, whom Israeli officials have said he used as human shields. It isn't clear what he was doing in the run-up to his discovery, but there were no hostages found or civilians killed in Wednesday's operations, according to Israel. You would think that if Israel's whole claim was, hey, these people are always using human shields, and we need to kill everyone because there's human shields and they're hiding under the humans, you would think if they actually found the big bad boss, they'd put him under the hospital. You know, you guys are lying all the time. Do a cleaner cover-up. Oh, look, we actually found the guy right under the school, just like we told you. It's a good thing we were killing all those civilians because just like we said, these people fight dirty and we never would have caught him. Look, he was right under this this baby's carriage. He was hiding underneath a baby carriage. They actually, we knew when we saw a stroller with 4 babies in it that didn't make sense because these people are poor and we don't let them have resources. And we knew that there must be this terrorist hiding across the bottom. And lo and behold, we were right. But you would think, you just find the guy after killing let's go with an abundance of innocent civilians under the basis of, well, there's no other way to handle the situation, and this guy's going to be mixed in with those civilians, hiding under the civilians. You wouldn't just, whoops, man, we had that one wrong. We thought this guy would be mixed in with the civilians the whole time. Turns out we had that one wrong. All right, this is from the New York Times. Reasons for no deal, yet it remains unclear whether either Netanyahu or Hamas's surviving leadership is ready for a truce. Hamas has survived the deaths of previous leaders and has emerged with a new generation willing to die in the service of trying to destroy Israel. This Times article explains what we know about Hamas's remaining leaders. A basic tension remains. Israel is unwilling to accept Gaza, where Hamas retains power. Hamas leaders are unwilling to surrender. I mean, like, how does that even play out? So you round up the Hamas leaders and then what? They unite, like, what, you're going to run new elections? And then the new government, you'll say, all right, we're going to make peace with these people. All right, last article for today. With armed guard drones, poll workers brace for deniers. And, you know, all right, let me read this, this one piece from the article, because this, all right, across the state, election workers have gone through active shooting drills and learned to barricade themselves or wield fire hoses to repel armed mobs. At the ready are trauma kits containing tourniquets and bandages designed to pack chest wounds and stanch serious bleedings. Or why not just use these resources having good elections? Instead of having shitty elections that people will protest, why not do more to just have better elections? And remember what I was saying? Hey, I feel like we could be using drones and facial recognition software and then running the stats on how many illegal immigrants were voting. Well, if you're already going to roll out drones, I guess for protecting the poll workers, why not just go with my idea and then you can not have any questions and you could do all the information publicly. I don't really know how that works out, but I don't know. You can make the data available so people can see that you weren't manipulating the data. All right, that's it for the show. Thank you for hanging out with me. I think next week, maybe in studio on Wednesday, but I'm leaning towards either Friday or Saturday night, doing a live podcast after one of those shows at the Shell. And then Sunday, or I don't even know, Sunday, I believe, not this week Sunday, a week from this Sunday, I believe we will probably be releasing the special at 8 p.m. And then maybe I'll do some version of my own election coverage. All right, that's the show. Let's take some comments. John, check out these genocidal Zionist loons calling for massacre of all Gazans. Alan Thickdick, 45 watching, 17 likes. Smash that like button, homies. There you go. Everyone follow Alan Thickdick's lead and smash that like button. And by the way, we actually have 426 people watching, most of whom I believe are on X. Eric John Pizza Arts. Skank Court has more credibility than the Supreme Court. Be fun if they made Skank Court the highest court of the land. That could be an interesting one. What time is POTP today, Rob? I believe we will be doing maybe even a double episode with the second hour being the paywalled episode this afternoon. I've yet to get final word from producer and Mr. Smith, but I believe we will be doing one in the afternoon. Alan Thickdick. Ooh, I get what you mean about Eminem now. To be honest, Eminem didn't do anything for me after the other rappers that went on the campaign trail with her. Who gives a fuck? LOL. Fair enough. Runaway Slav. I smell a setup. Northwood style. I don't know what that means, but that's the episode. Thanks for hanging out. Next week in New Hampshire. And then I got to be home a little bit. I need some new material. And then, it'll be time to porch soon enough. Later, dudes. Thanks for